Hey guys, what's going on? We're back with another Destiny 2 video, and today I'd like to talk about some quality of life Destiny 2 changes that I would like to see at some point throughout Destiny. Now, I know I'm going to prefix this by saying that Bungie has a lot on their hands right now with Final Shape, so these changes are just things that I find either annoying or inconvenient, or there's something that I think could add to the game and just make it better. So again, with these being little changes, I don't think they will be implemented anytime soon, and that being said, they really just change gameplay ever so slightly. But that being said, little things are important in a game like Destiny, especially because you're always playing it, or at least that's the idea, and it's ever evolving, and we've gotten a lot of really good quality of life changes over the past year. But these are some things I think that will just increase the overall happiness of D2 players, and well, you can tell me how you feel below and maybe add a couple to the list I have here. So the first thing on my list here is, okay, we all know when we're doing dungeons and you die during a jumping puzzle, the most annoying thing is having to wait 40 seconds to respawn. This is something that has been on my list for quality of life changes forever. It should be 5 seconds minimum, because it's a jumping puzzle. People are gonna die. I can only imagine the pain of doing like a duo dungeon, or you're carrying someone the first time through a dungeon, this has happened to me, and obviously you're not going to be the greatest at jumping puzzles when you first try them, so of course you're going to fail, and having to wait 40 seconds, say if this person is too far back or whatever, again, it's just painful. So this really would increase the amount of time you have in a dungeon, and it would just make you not have to twiddle your thumbs for 30 to 40 seconds because you died on a jumping puzzle. Now, of course, you can always pull people forward by starting an encounter, but that means if you're doing a boss encounter that you have to wipe and then rally, or just hope you get enough heavy ammo, it's just annoying, and listen, it shouldn't be a thing at all. It should be 5 seconds. It's that simple. So the next on the list might be a very, nitpicky thing, and I understand a list like this is going to be nitpicky, okay? So I apologize if it seems like that, but man, D2 travel has evolved from the D1 form. If you never played D1, you used to have to go to orbit in order to travel to a new destination. So let's say if you went to the tower, you couldn't. Sorry, I just hit my hydro flask because I'm not talking like an Italian, but if you go to the tower, you have to go to orbit in order to go to the Cosmodrome. You can't just go from the tower to the Cosmodrome. So yes, D2 is nicer in the sense that you can go to one destination and then travel to another one from said destination. So, it does make life easier. Plus, loading times are significantly smaller. In D1, it could take like up to a minute, 2 minutes for you to load into a destination. And in D2, that does not happen as often. So, this next thing, again, has to do with traveling, you can imagine. If you're doing some last minute modifications to a build, to your fashion, to anything, maybe you're just dismantling stuff in your inventory, you will quite often get booted from your menu. And this happens to me even when I'm flying in orbit. I don't know why this happens, but I could be like switching weapons, switching builds, looking at my bounties, and I just get kicked from my menu to the orbit screen. And, again, it's very, very nitpicky, but it can get frustrating, especially if you're trying to do something that requires a little bit more time. Like you're trying to be efficient with your time in Destiny because you're trying to get a bounty done, you're trying to get a quest done, whatever. It's so annoying to have to deal with this. Yes, I'm glad that travel is so much smoother and you can change stuff relatively quick. Loadouts being a thing, sometimes it doesn't even matter if you only have a second in your inventory. But again, it can be ever so slightly annoying, and I don't know. You guys tell me if you have the same issue with this. Next up, we have a similar thing, a slightly nitpicky, but this has to do with shaders and armor. Of course, we're getting an update with shaders that will make them show what colors they have in them a little bit more prominently, because of course, like, some shaders just have a wild color that's not shown up in its profile, and you're like, wait, why is Erebos Glance orange? Like, it's only purple, black, and like a beige on the shader. Like, why is there like orange? Well, they're updating that. But another thing that slightly annoys me is that there's a lot of really good shaders in the game. And no, I'm not annoyed by that. But I am annoyed that I have to scroll through 50 pages of shaders, or at least that's what it feels like, in order to get to a shader that I like. So yes, favoriting them does help you to avoid that. However, you can only favorite a certain amount of these. So that does mean you kind of have to pick and choose. I am a D2 fashion lord. I love to look good. I love to mix and match certain types of ornaments because there's so many cool things. I mean, there's like, you can look like Patrick from SpongeBob. You can look like Spider-Man. I haven't gone that far into the fashion. Like, I like to come up with my own things that maybe someone hasn't made. But it makes it a little bit more difficult when you have to scroll through shaders. And even armor ornaments are a thing. If you can only favorite a certain amount of armor ornaments. So that does mean you have to scroll here and there in order to find the one you're looking for. So again, it's a very small change that would be nice. I would love to be able to favorite, like, I don't know, 50 to 100 shaders, and the same thing for, you know, maybe like 25 of each armor ornament, of each, you know, helmet, boots, etc. Just because it makes your life so much easier when you're trying to put together a cool fashion build. The nice thing about ornaments and stuff is that if you save it to a loadout, it will save the ornaments with that loadout. So again, that is a fantastic thing. And, you know, I'm not saying that it's bad as it is. Being able to favorite your shaders and your armor ornaments is huge, and it makes life easier. But the ability to do more, especially as more stuff is added to the game, is going to just increase the amount of time you save by not scrolling through everything and just having it right there. Now, the next one, I just want to say, has something to do with exotics. But we all know there are a lot of exotics in the game that just nobody uses. Now, this is a balancing issue because some of these exotics, they're just not good. But there are some exotics in the game that are used for one thing and one thing alone, and that is the fact that they have intrinsic champion mods. Those are guns like Bastion, Ariana's Vow, etc. I do think it would be fantastic to see more weapons have intrinsic perks that, again, stop champions. Maybe like Centrifuge having anti-barrier, maybe something like Lorentz Driver having anti-overload or something. I could be wrong. I know some weapons that I don't use, like Jotun, I believe, has Unstop, but I think there are ways to buff these weapons a little bit and then give them intrinsic champion perks, and people will use them more often. I'm a fan of Outbreak Prime, and I would love to see something like anti-barrier or anti-unstop. And, you know, part of the reason I'd like to see this is that there are so many ways to stop champions now, or combat champions. Stasis is probably the strongest way to do that because you have slow with overloads, so you can slow overloads to stun, and you can use shatter effects to stop unstops. Of course, that means you only need a barrier weapon to deal with stuff, so you can do like Wish Ender, or again Ariana's Vow, and you have essentially, you know, you have barrier overload, or if you just need unstop, you don't even have to worry about that. You can run whatever you want. But definitely with overload, I like to have a weapon because overloads are kind of weird sometimes. But I definitely would like to see more intrinsic anti-champion mods just across the board, and I think it would make people pull some of these weapons out of their vaults. Revision 0 is a good example of a gun that had an intrinsic anti-barrier, right? But it wasn't good enough, so people didn't use it. But now that it got its buff, it's actually worth using in endgame content here and there. Although, you know, I actually haven't used it a lot this season. But you know, in the future, it might be a good idea. So yeah, I just think more intrinsic unstops and, well, champion mods in general would just be fantastic for the diversity of guns in general, because people are not just going to use one gun for one certain unstop or one certain barrier mod, you know. Hopefully you get the vibe that I'm dropping here. But it's, again, a small thing. I do think the way that unstop mods, or champion mods, I keep focusing on unstops, I'm sorry, but champion mods in general, the way they work with abilities and whatnot, having an effect on those, it's a fantastic way to, again, diversify gameplay. You're not just using weapons to stop champions, but again, I think that would add to people's arsenals and people's options and make certain things viable again. So this one, I think, isn't too outlandish. I would love to just see more free Eververse items, or things that are just earnable in-game. I think it'd be cool if each season they let you choose one Eververse set to get for like Eververse bounties. Say like they brought Eververse bounties back, and you had to complete like 20 or 30 bounties in a season, which, you know, sounds easy, but you know, you have to do like 5 bounties or 6 days, which again isn't bad, but you know, you can kind of space it out or whatever. But I think that's a achievable thing, and you can only get one set, like for one character. So let's say you wanted the Mass Effect set, you can only get the Garrus set, or the Vicarian set as it's called in game. You could only get that for free. I, of course, my dumb ass, you know, I love Mass Effect so much, and I know I've been trying to push the whole vote with your wallet, but I caved, and I just bought the Vicarian set because I love Mass Effect. I love Garrus, and I'm fighting the urge to buy the Commander Shepard set, and I think I'm gonna be able to get away with it. But man alive, I love Mass Effect. I'm so happy that the ship Sparrow and Ghost are free, because they're pretty cool, and hopefully some of it comes up for Bright Dust at some point. But yeah, again, the reason I just think this needs to happen, and the next on the list I'm just gonna go ahead and talk about. I mean, it's just having silver in the battle pass, because we have Bright Dust already. Bright Dust is the free, you know, like currency in game that you can't get with money, you just get with player time investment. But silver is, you know, it's real money essentially. And a lot of games, you know, whether it's Apex, Overwatch, even the finals has real money currency, or whatever you want to call it. You can get the equivalent of that, of Destiny Silver, in those battle passes, which is cool. Now, I get it, those games are a little bit different. All of the games I just mentioned, in fact, are PvP only. But, you know, Destiny has the very similar season pass, and it would be cool to be able to just get silver for completing the battle pass. It doesn't have to be a lot. It can be like 1,000, which, again, doesn't even buy you an Eververse set, which is silly, but I get it, they're expensive. But again, you know, you can build that up over the course of a year. That's about 4,000 silver, which you can use to buy 1 or 2 Eververse sets. And I think that's only, what, $40 overall. So if you're someone who buys the deluxe edition each year and you get the annual pass, you're essentially just recouping half of what you spent. So Bungie is still making a profit. But again, with all the things we've heard about Bungie being in debt and essentially not having enough money, it's possible that they would never consider doing something like this, because they're in a big enough hole as it is. And, well, it's Bungie. I can be hopeful, though, because, again, they gave collab stuff to us for free. The Humble Bundle is, again, it's a fantastic, absolutely phenomenal deal. I'll link that video in the description, me talking about it. If you don't have the Destiny DLCs, I suggest checking that out. You can spend $20 and get all of the major Destiny 2 DLCs from the past 4 or 7 years, just about. Some of them, again, aren't playable because the content is sunset, but the most recent ones are definitely worth $20, I can tell you that. And some of the money goes to charity, so again, it's a win-win. So, you know, maybe it's something like that too. Maybe it's Eververse armor that you can buy, but like let's say 25% of the profits go to charity. That way people feel good about spending money because, not only are they getting cool armor, but they're also donating to a good cause. You get my vibe? Hopefully you do. Anyways, this has been some quality of life changes that I think would improve Destiny 2's overall, it would just improve it, okay? That's all I'm saying. Let me know what you guys think. If there's anything I missed, I'm sure there is. I could have made this list longer, but in the interest of keeping it short, I think I'm gonna stop there for now. I like doing these lists because I like to analyze things about the game that could be better and try to give some insight on how they could be better. Of course, I'm no game dev, so I don't know if any of the changes that I suggested are easy to implement or really should be a priority, which is, again, why I want to say that these changes should not be priorities because they're very, very minuscule. I do think the last two are important to show the community that you value their time, giving them free stuff that is cool, or again, just giving them in-game currency that allows them to buy this cool stuff for just playing the game is something that should just overall exist in Destiny 2, because it exists in every other game that goes with the live service model. So anyways, that's my opinion. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, please, it helps a lot. Comment again down below what you're thinking, and subscribe if you haven't already. It helps me out a ton, and I'll see you in the next one.